Hello and welcome to another video tutorial here on understanding body language, liars, cheats and happy feet. It's Saturday morning and I hope you've all had a good week. Now then, the video I've got for you today was sent over to me by a chap called Stuart Dunn at SDL Behavioural Science Consultancy over in New Zealand. Thanks very much for this, Stu, and I'm going to take a look at it for you and break down some of the non-verbal behaviour we can see. So in this video we can see here is a lady called Tanya Perdomo speaking out about the disappearance of her husband Jerry Perdomo. Now her husband has disappeared and he's been missing for around about 2 weeks, and she's recently gone on camera for the first time to talk about the last time she spoke to him. So what we're going to do today, like all criminology cases I do, I'm going to try and stay neutral, and we're going to try and break down some of the silent behaviour we can see coming through from Tanya, and let's see if we can decode what that actually means. So I'm going to enlarge the screen for you, I'm going to turn it up, and then we're going to have a look-see. So we'll start at the beginning, and let's see what we can spot.
What kind of help that was, what he was going to be doing up there?
Okay, so the question asked was, what was your husband Jerry doing up in Maine at the time of his disappearance? So that's the question asked by the interview. And let's have a look at Tanya's reaction.
I think it was helping someone move.
Was this a trip that he
Go ahead.
Okay, so that little bit of segment there tells me that she's not overly comfortable about talking about why he was up there. No, when we talk about lying and deception, you've seen my other videos, there are more verbal than visual cues to deception, so we have to bear that in mind. So in this instance, the body language might not be the best indicator of deceit. However, it might be. We need to look at signs that she's trying to cognitively process, meaning she's really trying to think hard about her answers. So just have a look at that little bit of section there, and just see how hard she is to create an answer to this one.
I think it was helping someone move.
Okay, so there's not a lot of confidence in that delivery, but again, we can't base a lot just on that 10 seconds worth of interview. So what I'm going to do is going to fast forward this to around about 2 minutes 20, and let's have a listen to what she said the last time she spoke to Jerry. So,
to hug and kiss the kids, and then he told me that he would call me later, and I never.
Okay, so let's just start from here.
Go ahead.
When's the last time you spoke with Jerry, and what was that conversation like?
It was Thursday.
Okay, so the question asked, if you go on here, was when did the last time you spoke to Jerry, and what was the question? What was the conversation like? So let's have a look at Tanya's responses.
Thursday night, he called me to tell me that he was fine. We only spoke for a minute because the reception was really bad. And he told me that he loved me, and that to hug and kiss the kids, and then he told me that he would call me later, and I never. He told me he loved me, and then I didn't hear from him.
Okay, now then, for me, I think there is a verbal slip throughout that little bit of conversation. Now let me just scoot it back, and I think the verbal slip happens here.
Because the reception was really bad, and he told me that he loved me, and that to hug and kiss the kids, and then he told me that he would call me later, and I never.
Okay, and I never. And then she stops, and then she goes on
He
to.
loved me. And then I didn't hear from him.
And then I didn't hear from him again. However, what she was going to say, I believe.
To hug and kiss the kids, and then he.
Okay, one more time.
Told me that he would call me later, and I never.
And I never heard from him again. That, I believe, was what she's going to say next. But again, it's all open to interpretation. My interpretation might be different to yours. Now, I never heard from him again is something you would say if someone has just recently died, quite suddenly. You would say something like, you know, I spoke to Richard last week before he was run over, and I never spoke to him again. I couldn't believe it. So we use that terminology to discuss sometimes when someone has died. And it's quite interesting how she never actually finished that conversation off. She stopped, and then she says, I didn't hear from him. Now, for me, that little bit of segment is interesting, and it's also very interesting with the next snippet as well.
He loved me.
And what we can also see coming through as well is silently is the shoulders flipping up at regular intervals. Now, the shoulders convey the message that I don't really have any confidence in what I'm saying. I'm not overly sure. However, she's trying to sound confident in delivery, but her shoulders are letting her down.
From him. what you know.
Okay, now let's listen to that a little bit again. What the interviewer asked was,
and then I didn't hear from him.
Do you know his involvement with this Daniel Porter and Cheyenne Nowak? Do you know the couple?
No.
okay, so Daniel Porter, we see a pacifying gesture.
No, just probably what you know.
Now then, probably. So again, she's letting herself go there. She's letting herself slip. So that's another verbal slip. Only probably. It's not a full denial, which is interesting later on in the video.
Nope, not at all. I mean, it was staticky, but it was a normal conversation that we would have. You know, I love you. What are you up to? Hug and kiss the kids for me. I'll call you later. Nothing that sent up any sort of red flag with me.
Okay, right here. Now, for some reason here, we see contempt, which is the asymmetrical gesture we make on the side of the face using the buccinator muscle and the zygomatic major. Now, let's just scoot back. Now, why is she flashing us contempt at this?
Sort of red flag with me.
So it doesn't flash her a red flag, and we see contempt coming in here. Now then, the contempt asymmetrical gesture comes in sometimes when we feel we feel like our lives are being believed. It's like duping delight. It also comes in when you think of something like, I know something you don't know. So maybe she is withholding information from us. Either she's quite glad that her lies are being believed, or potentially being believed, or she's hiding something that we don't know about, which is significant to this police investigation. But there must be some reason why she's flashing us contempt. Okay.
Because I hadn't heard from him for 2 days.
Okay, so the next significant part is this. Okay, now if you didn't hear that question back, it says, let's just go back. Okay, let's just listen.
Because I hadn't heard from him for 2 days.
Okay, so now Daniel Porter is now being called a person of interest. How does that make you feel?
I'm devastated. I'm worried that...
Now then, that for me is very interesting because she's answered a question with I'm devastated, and the question was, how do you feel about Daniel Porter being named as a person of significance in this investigation? And she's devastated. Now for me that is a wrong choice of word. Now for me, devastated means she might well know this chap called Daniel Porter, and she's devastated at the fact that he's now the lead suspect in this investigation. But why would she be devastated? Maybe she knows him. Maybe she knows that he's a bad man, or he's got a reputation. So there must be a reason why she said the word devastated. Just watch that little segment back. I'll just rewind it for you slightly. Why is she devastated that Daniel Porter is the lead suspect in this investigation?
I'm devastated. I'm worried that I hope that he's coming home. I just want him to come home. I don't know. I'm not watching. Okay,
and we can see here, when she says devastated, we don't see a facial expression to match her verbal communication. All we see is we don't see any kind of facial expressions of anguish or sadness. We don't see anything like that. Okay, whenever we say the word devastated or we miss somebody, imagine if your missus or your boyfriend or girlfriend went missing. You would be absolutely frantic. You will be beside yourself. Obviously, we're not suggesting that we're telling Tanya how she should feel. However, just imagine the situation you would be in if your partner went missing for a week or two. You would be frantic, and frantic would register all over the face. You certainly wouldn't be emotionless like this lady is here.
I'm devastated. I'm worried that I hope that he's coming home.
Okay, and I'm worried that he stops again. So maybe she's letting us know that they might have had a row, or he might have been involved in some shady business up there. We don't know. And we can see the lip behavior.
I don't know. I'm not watching the news. I can't watch it. So you know more than me.
Okay, so you know more than me. Now that is a very bold statement for someone whose husband is missing, that the reporters know more. So again, I think she's hiding information from us here in this particular segment. So what I'm going to do is going to fast forward this on to around about 4 minutes 35, and let's just have a look at some more of the behavior we can see.
Say that he went up there to sell prescription pills.
I don't believe that.
Why not?
Because that's not like him. That's
Okay, so we're talking about prescription pills here, and one kind of
because that's
significant
not like
behaviour I
him.
do see is that expression there, which is the mouth shrug. And the mouth shrug comes in with absolutely zero confidence in what we've just said. So for me, potentially, maybe prescription pills might have something to do with his disappearance, and maybe she knows that it's got something to do with his disappearance just by revealing that silent bit of emotion there. So the mouth shrug equates to very little confidence in what I've just said. And we can also see some lip behaviour as well if we fast forward to 5 minutes 40.
No way.
I don't think so.
Have you learned anything in the last 2 weeks that maybe his reasons for going up there were different than what you were originally led to believe?
Okay. Okay, and there we go. So you heard the question, and her answer is no. Her verbal answer is no. However, we can see the lip hiding behaviour. Don't forget that this is not an indicator of deceit in any way, shape, or form. However, it's an indicator of stress at that particular moment. So again, we're seeing lip behaviour here, which is not congruent to what she's saying. Just watch that little segment back one more time.
I don't think so.
Listen to the question.
Have you learned anything in the last 2 weeks that maybe his reasons for going up there were different than what you were originally led to believe?
Nope.
And there we go. No. Now we press our lips together like that. It's a classic limbic response to block out the source of words. We do. It's a very instinctive gesture when we're uncomfortable and don't wish to talk. Our lips will press down hard together again. So potentially here there might be another indicator that she knows more than she's letting on, and her brain is trying to stop her from talking, and that's why we hide the lips just like that. It's a classic indicator of anxiety and stress. However, it could be the anxiety and the stress of being in this situation, about doing a press conference to reporters. Again, that will be a very stressful situation as well. So we have to bear that in mind as well. Okay, so let's just fast forward to around about 6 minutes now, and let's have a look at this little display here.
The support from everyone, from his work, from the community, from my family and his family. Maybe a little bit of denial, a little bit of just hoping that I still foresee him coming home. So I'm hopeful. I just want him to come home, and I think that's going to happen.
Why you're in denial?
Okay, now she says that she's in denial. Now, for me, that is a very strange thing to say at a news conference such as this. Now, for me, denial is all about being, too uncomfortable to accept maybe the truth, or maybe too uncomfortable to accept a certain way of thinking, despite there's overwhelming evidence to say otherwise. So for me, in denial is not the right thing to say. Maybe she knows full well the reason why he went up there, and maybe she's in denial about that she let him go up there. So for me, denial, there is alarm bells ringing for me on that particular statement. Maybe she feels guilty in some respects. Maybe he was involved in some kind of illegal activity. We don't know. But for me, that little choice of language there indicates to me that she certainly knows more than she's letting on. So you wouldn't necessarily feel denial if my partner went missing, I wouldn't necessarily feel denial.
That he's not coming home.
So very interesting. So let's just fast forward to the end, and let's just have a look at this little bit of segment here.
I'm
Okay, here we go.
desperate to get him home.
Mrs. Perdomo, you made the trip up to Maine, right?
I'm sorry?
You made a trip up to Maine?
No.
Okay, so we got a verbal denial she didn't make a trip up to Maine. Something you would certainly remember, because it's around about 1,500 miles away from Florida where this is, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry. To fly up there to look for him? Yeah.
So how on earth would you forget about going all the way up to Maine to look for your husband, and we get a verbal denial? So maybe there is something going on in Maine. Maybe that's why she denied that she went there originally. However, to look for her husband, yes, I was there. So whatever happened in Maine, with Joey going up there, potentially she knows more than she's letting on. Potentially there's something bad up there in Maine, maybe involving, I don't know, maybe a gang or an individual. We don't know, but she's certainly not allowing to let on that she was up there, apart from the fact she was going up there to look for her husband. So those are the main hotspots on this video. We can see a lot of mouth behavior. We see the contempt, asymmetrical smile coming in, which researchers have linked with something called duping delight, that our lives are being believed. We get an internal feeling of delight. We're seeing a lot of lip behavior where they're pressing down together, so we're hiding the lips. We also see a mouth shrug as well. We've got no confidence in what we just said. We shrug our mouths. Even I do it. I register this all the time at work, in the line of work I'm in. When people aren't confident in what they're telling me, they'll mouth shrug, and we can see that particular expression here as well. We also saw the first part of this video, and I never... What, you'd never finish that sentence? We can only speculate what she really meant. But for me, I never heard from him again is a term used to talk about when someone has died, possibly. I mean, that's just my interpretation. But I think the real hotspot in this one for me is this chap, Daniel Porter. When she was asked, how do you feel about him being linked to this investigation? She's devastated. Interesting statement there. She's devastated that he is linked to this statement. Maybe she knows if he might be a bad man. He might have links with organised crime. I don't know. But there's certainly an interesting hotspot there for me. So there we go. So that's that video tutorial done. Don't forget, this is an ongoing police investigation. This is real life. This is one of the criminology videos I do to help law enforcement and hopefully get to the bottom, and hopefully justice is served. So if you enjoyed that video tutorial, please check me out on Understanding Body Language, Liars, Cheats and Happy Feet. It's on Facebook. Or you can follow me on Twitter, which is at Body Language UK. So don't forget, all of the behaviour seen in this video through Tanya Perdomo can be seen throughout your daily life. So make sure you're observing these kind of behaviours when you're people watching. And again, a big thanks to SDL Behavioural Science Consultancy. You can check them out as well. There's the website, and there's Stu John, a good friend of mine. So there you go. So any questions, comments or feedback, please let me know, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon. So take care, and bye-bye for now.